check mark next to their name?
No. Almost have perfect attendance.
As Mr. Blankenship stated, we've looked at 4 additional sites. 2 of them are from the previous. Greg's gonna turn these lights off so nobody go to sleep. Get a little easier to see. Should have brought my pointer, but as you may recall, Auction Barn site is the site that you all voted on the last time we met, a little over a year ago. Also considered at that time was the Cannon Flat site, south on 33-119. But since then, we have, Mr. Blankenship and I and others have looked at additional sites that people have either come to us, or one meeting we rolled a map out and looked at mountain ridges and said, okay, what does this look like? And then traveled out to see if it was feasible. So the other 4 sites are, we've labeled it the Westfall site. This is the dairy farm property.
Lower Cedar Creek.
Near Cedar Creek?
Lower Cedar Creek.
Lower Cedar Creek. Travel out there, forget the mileage, but I'll show you an enlarged view of each of these properties in a moment. The other property we're calling Little Crooked Creek site. This is actually the entrance to Cedar Creek State Park, coming off the other side of the water. This site would be accessed off of Crooked Creek Run. And then we have Crooked Creek, which is along the road to Cedar Creek. It's on the left as you continue out the road to Cedar Creek. There is a residence there. The park boundary is down here. Actually, it's right here. It kind of parallels the property. But they are willing to sell, they're willing to sell, and they're willing to sell. And then the 4th property is actually at Glenville State College, out near the sawmill. The sawmill is just above that. This is just on the south side of it, but right adjacent to the road. So with that, if it works, we've talked about the Auction Barn site. Nothing's really changed here. For those of you that have not been in recent meetings, this is 33-119. Having access coming in for the K6. Initially, we'd purchased about 74 acres to build the K6. As you all recall, part of the CEFP was to, at some point in time, bring the 7th and 8th grade into the K6, making a K8, and then bringing the future high school and making it a 9-12 configuration. So we really have not changed this configuration at all. Last year's proposal to the School Building Authority that Mr. Blankenship presented in April was this site. There was a grant that was pending funding of the SBA to bring water to the property. And to my knowledge, that grant is still available if this site remains the selected site. Sewer would be on site. We would have some run of expansion of the 3-phase power to the property. Cannon Flats, again, nothing here has changed, coming off of, I forgot the name of the road. 33, but I mean the residential.
Sheridan.
Yeah. We're actually,
Lighting,
it would have come off here.
Whiting Avenue.
Whiting.
Well, it still does. That's the property line. So come off Whiting and up.
Down Sheridan.
Same thing, K6, future K8 with the future high school. Site is still, very tight to put both a K6 and a high school on that same property. It's 29 acres versus 74 at the auction barn. And the third site is what we're calling the Westfall. This is coming off at the dairy farm. Coming up a county road. That county road would have to be improved. Right now it's, I guess, a lane or a lane and a half of gravel. So it would have to be widened, most likely paved. The water would have to be extended from 33-119 as well as the power to get three-phase power to that property. Right now, I think 25 acres is all that they really would. Actually, they don't want to sell that much, but I guess 25 has been discussed for the first phase, so to speak, of building the K6 school. So that lays in there pretty nicely. But again, we'd have to upgrade the water, bring water, upgrade the road, and bring three-phase power. The fourth site, a little Crooked Creek. The road to Cedar Creek is right here, coming off of 33-119, coming through here to Cedar Creek. And just south of there, you cross the bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and then the road is actually right here coming off, and coming up through the ravine. We've talked to the Department of Highways, and they're okay with moving that intersection up and actually connecting it in closer to the bridge abutment. And then that would allow for better sight distances in this curve. Water and sewer are on 33-119, so it would just be a matter of bringing it up our access road. Again, showing a K6 school here. We've not looked at the ownership of these two properties, but we think we know who owns them. Again, future development could occur there if a high school would be planned to be brought to this school. Lost track. Fifth site, I think. This is along the road coming out Cedar Creek. As I said, there is a residence there now and a couple of barns down here in the lower meadow area. Development for a high school here is probably not going to happen, just on the property there. Mr. Blankenship, we were looking at going further south, and we're getting very close to the state park boundary. I didn't realize we were that close.
I think it borders the state.
Yeah. And there's pretty good hillside in behind here, so I'd say putting a high school on this property is probably not something we should consider. Three-phase power and water would all have to be extended to this property. Both of those are near the intersection back out at 33-119. The road obviously coming to the site is acceptable and would not need to be upgraded in any fashion. And then the sixth site is the site there at Gilmer State College. This road goes up to the sawmill. The sawmill is approximately there, so it's just south of that. The barn sits in here. But there's a pond up here and a nice plateau benched area. So basically we would just widen the side of the hillside there to create a nice plateau to put the school there. And again, this is not giving consideration of a high school. Probably could be extending further south, but we really did not explore that. And we'll look at costs now, or you want to go back to the first site and talk about?
Let me ask the committee, do you have any questions about, do you know about what we're talking about for the additional sites?
Is that Sycamore one where the shooting range is?
Yes.
Yes, above the shooting range, it's the old sawmill.
Okay.
And the one they're calling the Westfall properties on Lower Cedar Creek belongs to John. He contacted us and said that he'd be willing to consider that. The little Crooked Creek site, that's Crooked Creek Road. If you drive by there, you wouldn't expect anything, but if you look at the topo map, it's really susceptible to making a very nice site. The what's called Crooked Creek site, that is the last home before you go into Cedar Creek State Park.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Reed property, I believe. That's all for it. Then,
Well, you said the college.
yes.
And the water and power would have to, about right here, I believe. It cuts up across the country. We have to travel.
About 9/10 of a mile.
Yeah. Upgrade this, this upgrade to that site. Auction barn, we already have that grant in process from here to here for the water line. Cannon Flats, obviously water, sewer and electric are there. Glenville State, I think they're all nearby.
Biggest drawback there would be the access roads,
Right.
the width and the
Pavement's okay, but I think the width would probably have to be widened, pretty much all the way through.
And the auction barn, the electric would need upgraded there? That's
Yeah,
something-
but it's nearby.
Okay.
It, I think it actually crosses, and goes down through the valley, somewhere in that location.
Now, is the auction barn really the auction barn? Or is
It's
it,
to the right.
so that's the Arbuckle property?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the site we submitted last year.
Yeah.
Right, so that's not auction barn,
It's-
that's Arbuckle?
Arbuckle, yeah.
Okay,
Everybody knows auction barn, they don't know the other part.
right, but the ownership is a little,
Yeah, it's to the right of the road going.
Right. the Well Road.
Correct.
Would all these sites need sewage treatment plants on?
All of them would except for Cannon Flats. Cannon Flats could connect to the city sewage system. But all the others, I doubt the Glenville, but I don't know for certain. College site.
We have sewer out there. We have sewer.
Other question? We move on to the site graph?
So what we've done, as we've done in the past, is I put together a comparison study looking at the different costs. And, obviously, some of them don't apply, like three-phase electric. Cannon Flats and auction barn is basically something that's within the scope, not an expansive electrical extension as it is at the other sites. The auction barn, Arbuckle site, will require a PSD booster station as well as a main line, and that's part of what I was speaking about earlier. It's like a misspelled private. But that's part of a grant that's already in place if we need it. The Westfall,
With a $500,000 grant and a $500,000 loan.
the Westfall property requires